Good morning. Good morning. So I just had a friend over and we were going over some of the newer videos and she's laughing and also little, crying because she didn't know some of my story and it was a nice morning. Anyway, so today I'm all invigorated from sharing with my friend. She's just so loving. Anyway, so today I'm going to just talk about the tail end of living in Garfield and when my brother Jimmy was born. So you remember the event with the cowboy hat. So put that on hold. I kept the cowboy hat. And of course, mom and dad made up again. God bless my mom. And the new brother is coming. So, like, yeah, I'm five ish, I guess. And yeah, Jimmy's born around that time. Anyway, so we had a station wagon. I never understood the whole baby story. I little kid, right? You don't know. I just know there's something happening and everybody's all excited about it. And my Aunt Mill was having babies, and I think she was pregnant. No, my Aunt Mara was having. I don't know. It seemed like they were all pregnant all the time because there was a lot of cousins all squeezed in. And I'm gonna make. I actually made a video about cousins. I'll probably remake it because I don't want to put their names in. Anyway, so it was like a baby season, of course. That's our generation, the baby boomers. So mom was having a baby, Aunt Mill was having a baby, Aunt Mara was probably just had one or was having another one. They all had lots of kids. Anyway, there's a lot of family time there. Let's see. Stayed in contact with my Grammy. That was always like a home of respite. It was a place to go where you could eat as much as you want and feel safe. I guess those are the two things. My Grammy always fed me. True story. This is what they tell me anyway. My first words that I ever spoke were not mama, were not dada, but were gammy dinner. La, check the thighs. Anyway, so that's the story. So if you fed me and kept me safe, I'd follow you anywhere. Okay, so back to Jimmy. Let's see. Time came when he was coming home from the hospital, and I do remember standing in the parking lot, and I believe he was born in Passaic at Beth Israel Hospital. That's my best memory. I know that Scott was born there, and I think my other brother was born I can't remember. It's just really the fog, the fog, the fog. Instead of the plane, it's the fog, the fog. Anyway, okay, back to the story. Jimmy comes home and all the attention's on Jimmy. Now you gotta think of this that I was the only child for quite a few years, albeit, haphazardly all over the place. And no, mom and dad are made up. Dad's being a good boy again, like, yay. And so, of course, Jimmy comes home and he's like the golden child. Now, every family, don't tell me it doesn't. Either you are the golden child or you have a golden child sibling. There's just the way it is. It's the time and the anointing of the air and whatever. But, he was like the next hope for my family to get their act together. And so, little bratty Diane, and I'm going to own it, okay, because that's what worked for me. Little bratty Diane says, well, I'm just running away from home. I'm going to go live with Grammy. And my Gram lived one town over, which there is really close, back on the East Coast. She lived in Lodi, and we lived in Garfield on Cambridge Avenue. And at the end of the street, there's a very high traffic street. So I got my little suitcase. Now, this is a story that's told to me. I barely remember the actual memory of it, other than the fact that I remember looking back and they weren't following me. I thought I'm on my own. I'm five. I'm out of here. This part I remember. So I supposedly took a little suitcase with me and put who knows, whatever. And I'm just trucking on down the street. And little did I know they were watching me. But when I got to the corner, I think it's River Road. Don't quote me on that. But there's a big high traffic street that Cambridge Avenue goes into. And then that's the street you follow to Lodi. Mind you, I didn't know where I was going. But, like, hey, I'm independent. You guys left me alone, right? And of course, my dad came running down the street to get me, and that was that. So that was the birth of my brother, Jimmy. And I really loved having a little brother. He's such a little cutie pie, and I was always getting hollered at for trying to crawl in his crib and be little again. All little kids, and I've actually watched it with one of my friend's kids. She's like 8 or 9 years old, and she wants to get in the bed and be a little kid again. She tries to get into all the little toys and climb in, and she was 9. She's not getting in that cradle anymore. And I guess that was what I was going through as well. And then not long after that, mom was pregnant again. Oh my goodness. We moved to a place in Passaic, which was closer to where they both worked. And so they could walk and not have to take the bus. And I was in school by then, and I had been in kindergarten in Garfield. And then I guess the last half of maybe first grade, I was in the Passaic school. Don't have that clear. It's a mystery. I don't know. Anyway, so then Scott comes along. But before Scott came along, and I want to tell this funny story. This is the one of the best memories I have, not best memories, but most loving, kind memories I have of my mom. My dad worked nights. I don't really know what, and he was doing the chef thing by then. He was already transferring over and using his skills that he got in the Navy. And my mom was home, and we had an old black stove in the apartment that had the big um, pipe that went into the wall, and that's where the exhaust was. Well, I don't remember if it was night or evening. It's probably daytime sometime. And all of a sudden, there's a racket in the kitchen, and my mom gets up from her room and comes in the kitchen. I'm like at the table. I don't know what's going on. Turn around, and this pipe is shaking. First my mom thinks maybe something's broken. Then all of a sudden, something's not broken. There is a wing, a black wing, and coming through, like trying to shake the pipe, and it's actually, it probably got in and it got stuck somehow. Well, remember, my mom's tiny, like she's 4'11", tiny dot, and she's freaking out. My poor mom, God bless her. This is a picture that's going to live in infamy for the rest of my life. You got to tell these stories, they're family stories, and like I said, all this happened to somebody else too. So she gets the broom and she's trying to beat the wing back in. She's banging, banging, banging it, and I'm like, at first it looks funny to me because my mom's so tiny, so like mechanically her body motions just look funny, and I start laughing. Of course, this angered her. She's really scared, like, oh, she's like, what am I gonna do with this? And the wing was big now. It's already wiggling in, you can see just the wing. And now the soot is coming in. So now this black soot, as the bird's shaking this whole plate that was holding it in loose, the soot is coming in. There's smoke all over the kitchen. Then my mom starts waving the broom at the smoke so she can see the bird to beat it. She goes, "Go get the neighbor." I forget what the neighbor's name was. We was an apartment building, and so I'm screaming. By the time I come back in and get the neighbor, the whole place is full of smoke and ash and black is everywhere. Now the bird's gotten loose, and my mom's screaming like this. I know. It probably was terrifying for her, but for me as a little kid, I couldn't believe it. It looked like a cartoon. I mean, it looked like something you see on Fred Flintstone or something. I mean, it was just the funniest thing. So finally, the guy that was the neighbor and his wife, he goes and gets the net you use for fishing, he's trying to catch it. My mom's beating it with a broom. The wife is trying to keep me calm. And no, mind you, Jimmy's in the bed, sleeping in the other room. He's like in a car bed. They called it a car bed. And, my mom had closed the door so the black air wouldn't get in there. But, like, that was my first memory of my mom. She was so cute. This little tiny thing beating this bird. They finally caught the bird, and its wing was all mangled. It had broken it by struggling and everything. They took it outside. I don't know what happened to it after that. Then Scott was born. I guess she was carrying him because they're close. They're like 12 months. Jimmy's July. Scott's the following September. So, I mean, they're close. And so I guess she must have been pregnant around that time. And so the next memory I have was my goldfish. And I kept feeding it. Listen, kids, do not feed the goldfish too much food. So that was my first, like, grief. And then we had, let's see, after that, we moved to Garfield. I'll talk about that on the next video. Trying to keep them shorter, watching all these comments about short videos are better. So, anyway, that was my birth of my brother Jimmy. Mwah, Jimmy. And my birth of my brother Scott. Mwah, Scott. I love you guys. More later. Bye. Oh, 10 minutes. I'm getting better.